Hello and welcome to this week's look at action and stunts on film and television. How are you? Welcome to the Wild West. We've just trying to remember if we've covered a Western before off the top of my head. Maybe you'll be able to tell me if we have or not. I don't remember off the top of my head. I know we've covered a couple of John Wayne movies, but they have often been set in contemporary times. This was filmed in 1963. He plays G.W. McLINTOck, George Washington McLINTOck, and so popular is he in the town that the town is named after him, or certainly named after his family. It's a rip-roaring comedy. And listening to the podcast this week, you will note that I mentioned that when it's a comedy, as a stunt performer, you'd need to adapt the way you sell the fall to make it comedic. Makes sense? Home Alone, great example. Great example of the stunt performers selling the gags comedically. And here we have examples of that as well. So if you take the comedy away from the project, take it away from the movie, the fights would need to be stronger, realer, much more realism involved. And when you've got Maureen O'Hara, which you'll see later on, there's a lovely section of her going around with a feather with a hat pin on it, poking people in the arse. You can see that there are elements of that which are very comedic indeed. People's responses to being poked in the arse with something sharp, and consequently their then falls. There's a mudslide sequence which is fabulous, which we'll take a look at later. But there are also, it's a great example to look at some of the work of Hal Needham, who not only takes a role in the picture, but also arranged a great deal of it as well. There are a couple of actors knocking about in there, or stunt performers as actors in there. The big one, of course, is Chuck Roberson, who was John Wayne's double for many, many years. He plays the sheriff in this movie, and a couple of interesting bits along the way. So let's explore that, shall we? And we'll regroup after this. Here we go. So let's take a look at McLINTOck. Great opening titles too. There is the title. Very fine John Wayne movie. Worth having a look at. Everything in the town is McLINTOck. Here is Hal Needham in a little scene. Duke overlooking the cattle and moving them from place to place. And Hal, they got on very well apparently. Really enjoyed each other's company, but it was on reputation. And he's a good actor too. He's done lots of television. Duke reacts to him, has a look over and sees what's going on. And he looks very well. Excuse me, partner, and squeezes by him. Nice job. Now, this is him being chucking Hal. Comes down, goes to swing for him and throws him. That's CLIFF LYONS holding the horses, right? So he throws him into the backside of the horse there and then hits the floor and just has to react accordingly. But Hal does a really good job there. This is Roberson playing the sheriff, and of course you can see why he's a really good double for Duke. They look very, very similar indeed, but he plays the sheriff in this particular movie and doubled him for many, many years. You remember the movie? What was the movie? Big Jake, I think, is another good example. Chisholm is another great example. That great fight at the end, and Duke and Roberson swapping places quite often. Another appearance from Hal. This is they're trying to control this horse. And of course, in order to control a horse, you have to be a very good horseman. But in order to look like you're not, you also have to sell it. And here he is trying to sell it while the actor's trying to sell the comedic side of it, and a nice little dismount onto the floor. And then they cut back to the actor And it's all tickety-boo. Here's the mudslide. Good stuff, this. And, of course, this is the big set piece. So he starts coming up and says, wait a second, buddy. Let's just get a few things straight. Don't go poking that gun at anybody. I've told you. And he throws him to the floor and then starts. So this is where all of the excitement comes. It didn't mean anything. I know. But he's going to poke him there and say this and say that. And he also says the word pilgrim, which I think is lovely. But he makes it very clear. I'm not going to.
But I won't. The hell I won't.
I'm not going to punch you in the mouth. The hell I won't. And then gives him a good crack. And down he goes into this. This is a sort of a slide stuff. Now they're all starting now. Bang! Look, that's a miss. You've missed that by a mile off. Nowhere near anywhere there. The cowboys come diving in. And it's all one for all and all for everything. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on. Hit me. Look, that's a great shot there. He's gone right through the shot. That's a spot on. There's another great hit. The way in which the hat and the head come just in front of the camera as the punch is being thrown. Good punch, good punch. These are some great punches here. This is Maureen O'Hara getting in the thick of it. And now she takes out that feather. Oh, look, there's the point. Ooh, have that. Thank you very much. Watch. Oh, she gets poked as well. And gets, look at this, getting thrown. And it's a day's work, apparently. You get paid for this. Fantastic. Everybody now taking their time, sliding down, and the resident Indians looking from one side to the other, thinking, what on earth is going on? I haven't a clue what I'm watching here. There is a moment which I've highlighted, and here, this is your man, this is Jerry Van Dyke, who is now being sent on his way down. Everything clears out of the way. Oops, and it hits the end, and down he goes into the mud. Oh. You'd love to have spent a fly on the wall moment watching what was going on here and everybody preparing for this extraordinary thing. There are a couple of moments you'll see along the way where, you know, a whole bunch of punches, they're just not landing, full stop. Your man goes through. Is he on the donkey? Yeah, he's on the donkey with this this wooden ladder, shoving his way through. Ooh, your man gets caught again. He just made it back to the top. And then they look up again and something else comes sliding down. And down they go. And it's a free-for-all. It's an absolute free-for-all. And you know full well that they're going, look, who wants to go up here next? Who wants to go next? Some of these punches are great. They land right through the camera, but there's a bunch who, oh dear, that wasn't bad. Right in front of the camera. Then everybody gets sent along their way. Let me help you up, friend. Thanks, buddy. And he gets sent down again. It's moments of joy. I'm waiting for there's a moment with Maureen O'Hara, and then you're going to watch a bunch of lads on the right-hand side of her. Right, so watch your man here, right? She jabs the dude in the arse. And he goes, oh, now watch him. This guy on the right-hand side. And so she elbows him in the guts. His reaction is, well, a little over the top, frankly. And then there isn't a punch comes in. Well, there is, but it misses him by miles. And yet he still reacts in a really extraordinary way. I have a feeling that's Jerry Summers. If anybody can tell me different, then that would be fine. But yeah, there's a whole bunch of bits and pieces going on. That was more or less there. If you wanted to slow that one down, you'd see that miss by about 3 yards. But nevertheless, because of the speed of it, and that was on target as well. It's the key to the whole thing is delivery. And then the donkey says, well, you can have one and all. And down he goes. Oh, dear. Oh, now he goes. They're all down there now, look. It's full on. And there's no way of missing any of this. For entertainment factors. This is the guy that started it. Managed to drag himself all the way back up to the top. Only to... Right, John Wayne's made his way up quite swiftly too, I should say. Get down there, sunshine. Get out of my way. Bang, bang. These are all fair punches. Father and son. Bang. Oops. Hal's in the thick of it in the back, by the way. Good old-fashioned fist fights. Everybody being taken down. I think that's Patrick Wayne's first time down. She then pokes him in the arse, and he reacts. Ooh. Ow, he says, and down she goes, and that's it. wearing the waders and covering everything up. She's not amused. I think he has to come and join her at some point before the end of the scene. Get out of my way. Oh dear. And down he comes. It's like bowling balls at the end. The bowling pins everywhere. Oh boy. Now, falling downstairs drunk. Here is the comedic element of this. So, they got to get up the stairs. They've all had a bit too much. Well, he's had more than his fair share. He gets up to the top. Oh, 1 step up, 3 steps back. Staggering forwards. Selling it. Oh, and down they go. So there's the first part. Now the second part, which is Maureen O'Hara coming down and tearing a strip off him. These pair then become friends, and she says, come on, let's go up. He says, wait for me. And up he goes. And it's only when they get part way up, he grabs on. Now that's ballast, and he's pulling both of them back. They get part way to the top. And once again, the balance then kicks over. And down they go. And on this particular occasion, that's where you have to have an alternative stunt performer in. So Lauren Janes is in. And then these boys go. You don't really see the fall from here, but it's suggested. And they get part the way up, and then they come all the way down again. So it's like a onset, offset, or a two-man switch, if you will. So they go. The actors go up. The 4th of July celebrations. Some of the games that take place here. And look, let's light this. That's a good idea. All the kids suggesting that they're going to be doing this. Right, let's do that. Now, let's get out of here. And he's going, oh my God, what do I do with this? And he throws it, and it goes off. Which, of course, they all think, right, we've started. And off they go. Now, of course, a lot of the boys here, all professionals, all ex-rodeo or stunt performers. Being on a horse that bucks, I mean, they don't like saddles on them at the best of times, but being on one that all it wants to do is to get rid of you is not a great experience. You have a few moments where you think, I've got it. And then you don't have it for a few strides, and then you're then trying to find an easier way to get off without getting trampled all over. It's not great. And there is our winner. Look at these. They haven't got anything on, and all they want to get that saddle off, you know. Tug of war with a horse. You ever seen this? I've never seen this before. Tug of war with a horse, but apparently it's a simple thing. Been done for generations. These two get to a stage where they both now pulling, and one of them pulls the other horse down. And in order to perform the saddle fall, not a saddle fall, the horse is going to fall on the bit. And again, it's a trained falling horse who's going to pull one side. The horse's head will come round, get over the point of balance there, and down he goes. And then pulled out of the way, luckily, because the saddle is attached to the rope. Just missed out on any issues along the way. Here's your man who's had far too much to drink. And again, Hal doing some doubling here. The actor will be on a rig, and then that's the stunt guy. That's Hal probably riding through town. Got to lose the reins, fall over, but the actor will be on a rig, rolling, rocking backwards and forwards. And then at the end of the picture is this remarkable sort of chase thing. It's a John Wayne movie. It's a very macho sequence. Look, he's kicking over furniture and says, right, you and me need to have a word. And she's giving him lots of verbal, but as far as she's concerned, he's the problem, and she's quite feisty. And then she falls through, bang, into here. Look at the arms on here. You know, that's not a stunt woman, with the greatest respect in the world to Polly Bursam and some of the other girls who may have worked on the picture. So they were short of individuals. He does this diving in, look, lands in there. Do you remember what happened to David Soul when he did that on Starsky and Hutch? Nearly broke his back. Oops, stepping out of the way of the oncoming horses and getting around the corner out of the way. But it continues, and it goes the length of the town, and everybody starts watching what's going on. and they've all got an opinion, and Duke's got an opinion, and he's going to try and get hold of her. And he doesn't care that she's running away. He's going to walk at the same pace because that's what Duke does. And there's a table with food on it. Well, that won't stop her. And she gets over the top and she walks the length of the table. And he says, well, if it's good enough for you, well, I'm going to do it as well. So he gets on top and he walks the length of it and puts his foot in the pudding at the end. Right there. And it carries on. It goes on. I think he's right. That's Stephanie Powers, by the way, of Heart to Heart fame. So, walking through the town, and she's getting away. And he's just walking at the same pace, doing that. I mean, he's got that gated walk. Look at that. It's like a sideways. It's like he's walking sideways. Have you noticed? I've only ever seen 2 or 3 people do it really well. And it does look like they're approaching him with the shoulder. She makes a right turn. He walks round to the right. This guy's going to get it again. He's decided, I've had enough. Good day, dear lady. And he walks off. Now, she comes around the corner and she tries to hide. Where the hell am I going to go? Oh, here he comes. So he's making good progress. I'll go in the barn. I'll go in the barn. That's what I'll do. And the door of the barn opens and she closes it, tries to shut it behind. And she runs out the other side and just catches it. And visual gag. So part of the dress has now come off, but he's walking. I wonder if those boots were really difficult to walk in. Lost a bit more of the dress there. Now goes into this particular shop. This is your man's shop here. She starts throwing, is it fruit? Yeah, tomatoes she's throwing at him. He says, the hell you do, and climbs over the counter. Running around, stuff going to fall over. People falling down. I mean, it's knockabout slapstick comedy, and it's not something that we would have seen Duke do before. I know people will talk about The Quiet Man. Yes, there were moments of the big fight. Of course, is a great example of how good that was, but it was written maybe more so in respect of, you know, a story with funny sections in it. This is, you know, who falls over a chair like that? I don't know. That's Robeson. But this is written with comedy in every scene, you know, whether it be verbal or whether it be physical comedy, right? Going up the ladder, now getting to the top, she then screams. That's why they go outside, because the ladder's moving. And as she comes down, again, I don't think that's a stunt woman falling into the water. No, I'm fairly convinced that's going to be a stunt man. Again, it's purely numbers. It's purely numbers. Back then, there weren't those numbers around that you could say, yep, you know, we've got enough stunt women. We can have enough on every picture. You could never have enough. Let me help you out of there. And he goes, oh, hang on. You're not the one, excuse me, and drops her back in the water again. We're on the final charge now. She comes through the crowd after knocking down some unsuspecting character. She then she's like she's being headed off. She could go round those people. She goes into the shop. That's where Robeson is now with your woman here. And she's going, oh my God, you know, suddenly puts a tablecloth around her. And the posse have finally got to the stage. She said, look, he's there. Don't tell them I'm in here. Well, of course, your woman, she's on everybody else's side. Oh, by the way, hello. He's in here. She's in here. And back he comes. And she says, bugger this, I'm off. And a bit more. And she goes out through the window. Again, you know, bizarre moments. So, there you are. That is McLINTOCK. If you haven't seen it, it's on YouTube. Go and see it. It's brilliant. It's a really, really funny movie. Lots of great performances and everybody throwing their comedic hat into the ring. I mean, really doing it good and proper. That example earlier of Patrick Wayne being thrown by Duke, or in this instance by Chuck Robeson, into the back of that horse. And it's Hal Needham, of course, doubling him. But it's the throw the impact and the landing, and they've all got to be done in a sort of peculiar, odd and amusing way. And he has to do it for just a frame or so, just to convince the audience that that's Patrick Wayne doing it. Similarly with the horse riding. Similarly with the stair falls at the end. You know, Robeson's up and down them stairs, left, right and centre. And there aren't that many stunt performers knocking about. Female stunt performers. So you do have issue with that, and consequently you have to find a performer who's available to do the work and can make the actress that he is doubling kind of look like the actress he's doubling, you know. And in this instance it's Lauren Janes, very masculine man but quite slight of frame. And back then that was more of a concern than can they actually do the job. Wore the costume, but you wouldn't want to have somebody in the costume who's this big, because very clearly you go, that's not her. But what they've done here is they've chosen Lauren Janes, who's, you know, just a slight figure. I think he was on the picture a little longer, and consequently does some bits and pieces for Maureen O'Hara as well, particularly falling off the ladder into the water trough, which I think is him as well. And if you slow it down and you look at the arms on him, I mean, he's a strong boy. There's no doubt about that. And with the greatest respect to Maureen O'Hara, them's not her arms, right? That's very clearly not her arms at all. She wasn't blessed with that kind of a structure throughout the arm. So that's the only giveaway. And it's only a moment, but nevertheless, you just get to see a little flare of it. And it's a great fun movie. Lots of great, wonderful stuff. The mudslide, of course, all manner of bits and pieces going on there. And again, she was very keen on doing it herself. I think a lot of the situations here were, you know, let's create this slide in such a way that unless you physically can't swim, you're going to end up down there in that gloop. But if you can't swim, don't worry, we'll sort it. And 99% of them all said, yeah, I'll do that, that's no problem. Maureen O'Hara, of course, had just come back from apparently a fairly recent operation, wasn't feeling her absolute 100% best. But they worked a way round it whereby she would keep reasonably safe, she would keep reasonably dry. Waders, you know, up to here, and then the costume over the top, and she's all packed out, and she's got some padding around the dress bows out at the bottom, so you can afford to cover it and use some padding in there, particularly if sliding down backwards down a hill into water. So it's all sorted in the end, and it was huge fun, and I hope you enjoyed that. And thank you very much again for joining me. Next week, we'll do something completely different. And if you want to join us on this remarkable journey through the world of action, then subscribe. The button is on the screen now. And also go and check out the podcast. There is a Linktree link in the notes down there, all the way down there is a Linktree link. Click that. Anything you need, any way you want to follow us, it's all the social medias, a whole bunch of other bits and pieces. Go and click that. And, well, until next time, it's bye for now.